In a small village nestled in the heart of the African savanna, there lived a woman named Zara. Zara was known throughout the village of Umoja for her kindness, her gentle heart, and her loyalty to her husband Jabari. Together, they had built a quiet life full of love and hope, yet one thing was missing: they longed for a child. For many years, Zara and Jabari prayed to the gods, made offerings, and visited the village healer, Mzee Juma, asking for a blessing that would allow them to become parents. The entire village knew of their struggles, and many of the villagers supported them in their wait. Then, one day, their prayers seemed to be answered. It was a bright morning when Zara came running through the village with a joyful cry. "I'm with child," she announced to anyone who would listen. The villagers came out from their homes, their fields, and their shops to share in her excitement. It was a celebration of hope, not just for Zara and Jabari, but for everyone who had seen their sorrow. Months passed, and Zara's belly grew, along with her excitement and the villagers' anticipation. The elders blessed her, mothers advised her, and children eagerly asked about the baby that would soon join their community. Even the village healer, Mzee Juma, came regularly to check on her, ensuring that both mother and child were healthy. It was as if the entire village had a part in this new life. Finally, on a warm night under a sky filled with stars, Zara gave birth to a baby boy. Jabari was overjoyed as he held his son for the first time, marveling at the tiny, wrinkled face that stared up at him. The baby's eyes seemed to shine with an unusual light, and there was a strange stillness about him, as if he were listening to something far away. "His name will be Kito," Jabari announced. In their language, Kito meant precious gift, for they believed he was truly a blessing. The villagers rejoiced and showered the family with gifts and blessings. But amid the celebrations, Mzee Juma, the healer, noticed something peculiar about the child. He watched Kito closely, his old eyes narrowing in thought. Kito was quiet, too quiet for a newborn. He did not cry out as most babies did. Instead, he gazed around with an intense focus that seemed unusual for a child so young. As the weeks turned into months, Zara and Jabari began to notice other strange behaviors in their son. At times, Kito would seem to stare off into the distance, his eyes unblinking, as though he were seeing something invisible to everyone else. When other babies were just beginning to babble, Kito would mutter words in a language that neither Zara nor Jabari recognized. Some villagers said he was blessed with a gift of wisdom, others claimed he was touched by the spirits, and a few started whispering that he might be cursed. Despite the murmurs, Zara and Jabari loved their son fiercely. They ignored the whispers and kept to themselves, focusing on raising Kito with love and care. But as Kito grew older, his strange behavior became harder to ignore. By the time he was 3, Kito would often wander off alone into the forest, returning hours later with leaves and strange stones in his hands, muttering in that same eerie language. Sometimes he would wake up in the night, his eyes wide and filled with fear, and speak of shadowy figures that visited him in his dreams. One day, Kito returned from the forest with a peculiar object, a small, carved wooden figurine, shaped like a person, but with eyes made of glistening stones. When he showed it to his parents, Zara gasped, for she recognized it immediately. The figurine was identical to one that had been given to her as a young girl by a mysterious traveler who had passed through the village. Zara had lost it years ago and had almost forgotten about it. "How did you find this?" Zara asked, her voice shaking. Kito only looked at her with a calm, knowing gaze, saying, "It called to me." The villagers began to talk even more, their whispers louder now. Some of the elders warned Zara and Jabari that Kito was no ordinary child. "The spirits speak through him," one elder said. "There is something in him that does not belong to our world," another added. Mzee Juma, however, stayed silent, watching with a look of worry on his face. One night, as a storm raged outside, Kito had another episode. He woke up screaming, thrashing in his bed, his small body seeming to convulse. Zara and Jabari rushed to his side, but as they tried to hold him, Kito's eyes opened, and they saw a look of sheer terror in them. He spoke in a deep, guttural voice that didn't sound like his own, saying, "The time is near. You cannot keep me hidden forever." Zara recoiled, horrified, as her own child stared at her with those intense, otherworldly eyes. The next morning, Jabari went to Mzee Juma, pleading for answers. "Please, Mzee Juma, help us. What is happening to our son?" The old healer sighed deeply. "I have been watching Kito for a long time," he admitted. There is a spirit within him, an ancient one. But there is something else you must know. What Jabari asked, his heart pounding. Mzee Juma took a deep breath before he spoke. I don't believe Kito is your son. I think he may have come from another realm, a spirit who has taken the form of a child. Jabari felt as if the ground beneath him was falling away. He remembered Zara's happiness when she had discovered she was pregnant, but he also recalled strange dreams he had during that time, dreams of a figure whispering to him in the darkness, promising a child unlike any other. You must confront this spirit, Mzee Juma said. There is only one way to know the truth. The following night, Zara, Jabari, and Mzee Juma gathered around Kito while he slept. The old healer began a ceremony, chanting words of protection and calling on the spirits to reveal the truth. As he chanted, Kito began to stir, his body twitching and his face contorting in pain. Suddenly, Kito's eyes snapped open, and he looked at Mzee Juma with a chilling gaze. In a voice that was deep and ancient, he spoke, "Why do you seek to uncover secrets that were meant to remain hidden?" Mzee Juma did not flinch. "Tell us who you are," he demanded. "What is your purpose here?" The spirit within Kito laughed, a cold, eerie sound that sent shivers down their spines. "I am older than this village, older than these lands. I have waited for centuries, and now I have returned." Zara clutched Jabari's arm, fear filling her heart. "Why our son?" she whispered. "He is not your son," the spirit replied. "He was never meant to be yours. You merely served as a doorway for my return." As the spirit spoke, the room grew colder, and the shadows seemed to stretch and twist. Jabari, feeling both anger and fear, stepped forward. "You may have come through us, but this child is ours. You have no right to take him from us." The spirit in Kito sneered. "You are foolish to think you can claim what was never yours. This form belongs to me now." At that moment, Mzee Juma threw a handful of sacred herbs into the fire, and the flames roared higher. "I call upon the spirits of our ancestors," he chanted. "Come forth and protect this child. If he is truly ours, let him be freed from this spirit." The air grew thick, and for a moment silence fell. Then, a faint light appeared in the corner of the room, growing brighter until it took the shape of a woman. Zara gasped, for the woman looked like her own mother, who had passed many years ago. The spirit spoke, her voice gentle and filled with warmth. "This child was given to you," she said to Zara and Jabari. "But the spirit within him is a part of something much older, something dark. If you wish to save him, you must let go of your claim to him and offer him back to the spirits." Zara's heart broke at the words. How could she give up her precious Kito? Yet, as she looked at her son, she realized that this was the only way to free him. With tears in her eyes, she knelt beside him and whispered, "I love you, Kito. I release you so that you may find peace." As Zara spoke these words, the spirit within Kito let out a terrible scream. The figure of light stretched out her hand, touching Kito's forehead, and a dark mist seemed to rise from his body, twisting and writhing as it was pulled away. With one final cry, the spirit vanished into the night, leaving Kito lying still and peaceful. When Kito awoke the next morning, he looked at Zara and Jabari with clear, innocent eyes, as if seeing them for the first time. He was free, his spirit unclouded, his gaze full of wonder. Zara and Jabari held him close, knowing that the child they had longed for was now truly theirs. The villagers soon learned of the event, and though they still whispered, they all recognized that Kito was special and that he had been saved from forces they could barely comprehend. Life in Umoja slowly returned to its usual rhythm, but the villagers now treated Kito with a mix of awe and respect. They saw him as a child marked by the spirits, touched by both darkness and light. Though they were wary, they couldn't help but feel that he was part of something much bigger, something beyond their understanding. As Kito grew, the strange behaviors vanished. He no longer wandered into the forest alone, nor did he mutter in unknown languages. The dreams that had once plagued him, filling him with fear, seemed to have faded like mist at dawn. Instead, he grew to be a bright, lively boy, full of questions and boundless curiosity. But even as he laughed and played with other children, there was always something about Kito, a quiet wisdom in his eyes, a depth far beyond his years that set him apart. One day, as he was playing near the village well, An elder approached him, her face etched with lines of age and wisdom. She watched him in silence for a while before finally speaking. "Kito," she said softly, "do you remember anything from before? Anything from the time when the spirit was with you?" Kito paused, a thoughtful expression crossing his face. "Sometimes," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Sometimes I see things like glimpses of another world, but they're fading now. It's like a dream I can't quite remember." The elder nodded, looking at him with deep respect. "You have been given a gift, child. You have glimpsed what most of us can only imagine. You must honor that gift, but also know that it is your life to live now. You belong to this village, to your family, and to yourself." As the years passed, Kito grew stronger and more compassionate, helping his family and becoming a young man admired by all. He learned the traditions of his people, and though he never spoke of the spirit that had once haunted him, he carried an understanding of the unseen world that made him wise beyond his age. Kito took a special interest in healing, learning from Mzee Juma and assisting him with herbs and remedies. The healer saw great potential in him and treated Kito like a son, guiding him not only in medicine but in the ways of the spirits and the mysteries of their world. One day, when Kito was nearly a man, Mzee Juma took him aside. "Kito," he said, "I am old, and my time here grows short. You have a gift, a calling, and I believe you are meant to be the healer of this village one day." Kito was humbled. "I will do my best, Mzee Juma, but how will I know if I am ready?" The healer smiled. "You have already faced what many could not, and you have been touched by the spirits. You have a bond with them that no one else in this village has. You are ready, Kito." Not long after, Mzee Juma passed peacefully in his sleep, leaving Kito to step into his role as the new healer of Umoja. Kito took his place with reverence and dedication, and the villagers came to him not only for remedies but for advice and guidance. He became a bridge between his people and the unseen world, respected not only for his skills but for the quiet strength he carried within him. One day, many years later, a traveler came to the village. She was a tall, graceful woman with wise, dark eyes and a calm presence that seemed almost familiar. She went to see Kito, explaining that she had heard of a healer who had once been touched by spirits. As they spoke, she revealed that she was a seer, someone who could see into the past and future, and she had come to tell him of his purpose. "Kito," she said, "you were chosen for a reason. Your journey was not just for your own growth, but because you have a special role in keeping the balance between the living and the spirit worlds." Kito listened intently as the seer explained that there were ancient spirits, some gentle, some malevolent, who roamed the earth, seeking to influence the lives of the living. His role, she said, was to guard the village and ensure that these spirits did not harm those who dwelled there. "But how can I do this?" Kito asked, feeling a familiar fear creep into his heart. He remembered the spirit that had once possessed him and the darkness that had haunted his childhood. The seer placed a hand on his shoulder. "You have faced the darkness before, and it did not consume you. That is why you are strong enough to protect others. Trust in yourself, and remember that the spirits will only listen to those who speak with humility and respect." With the seer's guidance, Kito began to learn more deeply about the spirits, seeking to understand the ancient forces that roamed his world. He meditated, prayed, and fasted, growing closer to the spirit world in ways he had never imagined. His people came to see him not only as a healer but as a protector, and they felt safe under his watchful care. Years turned into decades, and Kito's name became legendary, even beyond Umoja. Travelers spoke of the healer who could commune with spirits, the man who had once been possessed and had emerged stronger. He married, had children, and passed down his wisdom and his love for the village. In the end, Kito lived a long life, blessed and surrounded by family, friends, and a community that loved him dearly. When he grew old and it was his time to leave the world, the villagers gathered around his bed, weeping not with sorrow but with gratitude for the gift he had given them. As his spirit departed, the villagers claimed they saw a gentle light hovering above his home, a warm, comforting glow that watched over them until dawn. They knew it was Kito's spirit, watching over them one last time, protecting them as he had always done. And so, the village of Umoja remembered him as Kito, the precious gift, a child who had once been touched by darkness, but had chosen to become a beacon of light for his people. His legacy endured, a tale passed down from generation to generation, reminding all who heard it that even the darkest trials could lead to a life of wisdom, courage, and love. In this way, Kito's story became not only a tale of mystery and spirits, but a story of hope, resilience, and the power of love to conquer even the darkest forces. And to this day, the villagers still tell his story, knowing that wherever Kito's spirit roams, it watches over them, protecting and guiding them just as he had in life.